Hello, welcome to my channel, Mystic Shield Tarot. Today for the first reading, I am going to be asking the question, what do you need to make space for in your life right now? So let's get into it. So for this pick a pile, I have 3 different charms that you can choose from, or you can also just choose whichever pile you're drawn to. We have the foot. I am a shaky person by nature. It is part of my life, so forgive me for my shakiness. You don't need to point it out. Starfish and the key. So see which pile you feel drawn to, and then we'll get into the readings. Hi, pile 1. You chose the adorable little foot and pile 1, obviously. So here is your reading for today, which is the question I asked, if you don't remember, is what is something you need to make room for in your life right now? So let's see what the cards have to say about that. We'll do this one here. I think 1 is good. For that deck, let's see what comes out here. One, 2. Oh, there's a nice little stack here. 1, and then this one. And I'm going to put this one to the side. And then finally we have the Rider-Waite deck. Oh, I'm gonna get you, don't worry. Okay. Wow, we got a few that want to come out. Excellent. All right, so let's get everybody kind of organized. It's kind of a funny setup that I have right now because I have an ugly table. So we make do with what we have. Someday I will have a beautiful table, and you will know when I do because you will see the readings on that table. All right, you guys. So let's see what cards you have. And then I've also put this one aside for later. Okay, so for the Wild Unknown Archetypes, you have the Mountain card. I love this. Little hideout in the mountain, some security stuff going on. The 10th chakra, grounding and nature. We have the Rebel, which is a major arcana card. It's number 4. Awareness, another major arcana. Sorry, I'm from Massachusetts, and that's a 7 major arcana. Then Abundance, which is the King of Pentacles typically, and then Past Lives, which is number 18. So you have a lot of major arcana coming up here, which is very interesting. So I would say that this is a pretty significant bit of insight you're about to get. And then we have the Tower, the 5 of the 7 of Swords. I always get the 7 and 5 mixed up. They have a similar vibe to me. The Chariot again, which is the same thing as Awareness number-wise. And you'll notice I'm not doing reversals. I think the deck was just upside down. Sometimes I do reversals. That's when the card's upside down, and sometimes they don't. It just depends on the mood I'm in. The World, holy moly. The Page of Pentacles. Look at these yellows coming out. Some issues maybe of self-esteem or seeing things clearly. And then the Lovers, which is another major arcana card. So you have in total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 major arcana cards out of 10. That is a lot. So let's see what's going on here. First of all, whenever someone has that many major arcana cards, I'm like, well, you have a lot going on and I hope everything's okay. So we'll start with that. But I'm sure everything is okay, and it will be okay if it isn't. So let's see what is going on here. All of these, look at all of this yellow down the end here. It's like a major shift happening with the tower and the world right here. So I'm getting the sense that you've done a lot of work on like creating boundaries or making yourself safe, and in fact you may have done it too good a job. What I'm seeing here is that you're up in this mountain, you're very protected, the rebel. So there's this element of I think a lot of times with this kind of reading, there's an element of the first thing is usually we're disappointed by somebody or we feel betrayed, and then from there we kind of say, well, that's never going to happen to me again, and so you kind of sequester yourself away. So there is this feeling of that. And in that is this emergence of awareness that's happening, which is really kind of interesting. There's something new is happening with you. You might be someone who's been very closed up, has a hard time with commitments or trusting people. I totally get it. But there is a part of you now that is coming out that wants something a little more, that wants to be closer to people. You could be feeling this desire, this pull towards, maybe I'll take a risk, and that's a big deal if, you've kind of pushed people away, even if it's unconsciously, and that's one thing like to be aware of, right, is have you unconsciously pushed people away? Not always, I think that with the tower, we have initially this was something that happened that made you not feel trustful of other people. And it wasn't something within your subconscious that made it happen. So that is important. And then we have let's see what else we have. And we have the past lives here, which is, I think, very interesting. And so with the past lives and the little chameleons, there is this sense of transformation happening, right? And this idea that, if you believe in past lives, that there could be some kind of repetition happening here, or you need to learn how to make room for other people in your life and let that more tender part of you come out to the surface. And there is this promise, I feel like, with the abundance card, the Page of Pentacles, there is this kind of promise of potential here for connecting with other people and successfully, though I do feel like you maybe if there is someone who you're feeling drawn to, this abundance card is kind of, I'm not sure. I don't exactly feel, I feel like if you're, it's interesting. I feel like you might be drawn to someone, or the idea of abundance, or the idea that somebody can help you out, and that's kind of bringing this part of you out. But the message I'm seeing here is that this, if it's a person or a thing, like to only take what resonates with you, to only go for the things that you want from this person, and not let them take advantage of you in return. So there is that kind of risk in all of this is still existing in this particular situation, though I do think the person has something to offer. I'm not sure that it's the right fit, though, and that if they have things they want from you that you don't want to give them, to be aware of that. I want to see the other card based on that in a minute, but we're just going to put a pin in it for now. And then the 10th chakra is this idea, this idea of protection, and this idea of, you've sequestered yourself away to feel safe and whatnot, and that makes sense. But the invitation is to be more grounded and to kind of protect yourself in that way, where you're connected to the earth and you're feeling like very connected to like a tree, how it has roots in the ground that nourish it. And a tree is very, it's very solid, like as much as it sways in the breeze, which it needs to do, you need to have that ability to be flexible in all of these other things. And that flexibility and that groundedness is going to protect you. And because you're still very vulnerable in this picture and very alone. And I think the invitation is to put down some roots to look for stability in your life, but to do it for yourself and on your own, and not necessarily with the help of someone else. And then from there, you are able to kind of let that more vulnerable part of you out. But this person, I do not feel like is the way to go. Of course, you do what you think is right, you know what I mean? But even if it's like a religion or a spirit, a spiritual philosophy that you're moving towards and things like that, like the idea of manifestation, which is, I think to me, a very controversial concept, which, I'm very unique in that way, in the fact that I read tarot and I believe in spiritual things and I'm more new agey, but I do question manifestation. And it's similar to that, it's like, take what you want from this. If it is like a spiritual thing, take the parts of the traditions that you agree with and leave the other stuff behind. You don't have to believe everything, but there are things that are valuable to come out. And then from here, we've talked a little bit about the Tower, about this kind of mistrust okay, yeah, that's so cool. So the thing that I'm seeing is, it's like a little card that matches with these. So it's almost like the split between your inner kind of self that's coming to the surface versus what you've created to kind of protect yourself. And you'll notice on either end of this is that same major arcana number, the 7, which in this case is awareness, and this is the Chariot. And so that's very interesting to me, and I'll figure out what that means in a moment. Let's see. But for now, I feel like there was this could be a past life, or it could be a past life, like literally, or it could be a past life, like the life you had before you stopped trusting people, and in that life, either whichever one it is, you kind of had this like really great, you had what you thought was a wonderful relationship and you felt very secure in it. However, I feel like the person kind of snuck away somehow, and left you. And they also were very tricky because they didn't enable you to really defend yourself or speak up for yourself. Like, they really shut you down somehow. So it could have been that they shut you down by telling you, by kind of what's the word? Gaslighting you, by telling you what you were thinking isn't really true. It's not really what you're too emotional. That's not so much gaslighting, but it is still in that realm, like just kind of disarmed you in a way that you didn't feel like you could defend yourself. So that's how you end up in this mountain, is that you just are like, well, I can't defend myself in a relationship, so I'm just not going to have one, and I'm not going to let this happen again. And so that's kind of the root of it. This person also, they were very, I think, concerned about material things, or they were materialistic. It might be that they, if it was a romantic relationship, it would be, I feel like they might have cheated and picked someone who was, more attractive or something like that. If it was a partnership or a family member, it would be more like you felt rejected for some material reason almost, that you were trying to live up to their expectations, but you never could have met them. And that's the problem, is that the problem wasn't you, and it's so easy to blame ourselves and to say, I'm never going to let this happen again, as if it was your fault that it happened. But it is not your fault. It's just not. And then with the Chariot, it's this idea of, being driven to me, and also kind of trying to strike this balance. There's some sense of duality in this card and in this card as well. And so it's almost like you definitely are trying to find this more spiritual aspect and be more open to spiritual things, I think, versus the Chariot, which is just, very determined and kind of in control of the emotions. In this relationship also, this person could have been, like I was saying, like telling you what you think is true isn't true. And meanwhile, it is true. You don't love me anymore, or, I don't think I can trust you, and things like that. And they're like, no, that isn't true. true. And so you had to like keep your feelings and everything under wraps because you were getting too emotional, when really what was happening was that you were being lied to. And so with the Chariot, it's kind of like this feeling of being determined not to do the wrong thing, not to misstep, to stay in your box, right? And to seem very, very balanced, very serene all the time, so that this person will love you or stay or whatever it is. And it didn't work out. And then it created this other situation, which is in its like on its own is awful and as difficult as this whole thing is that happened. You have the World card, which tells me that there was this awful thing that happened, but then you were forced to rely on yourself and you were forced to go into this mountain. But part of that experience, while it has disconnected you from trusting certain things, or it's made you very cautious, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, what it has done is it has also helped you to love yourself more and to kind of protect yourself in a really healthy way, and to think more about boundaries and think more before you trust people, and to also learn how to nurture yourself and be with yourself. And that is such a valuable transformation, and I think that it's this transformation, this World card, that really brings you into a place where you're starting to explore more spiritual things and question, what can you do? How can you become more vulnerable, let this part of you out, but still have it be safe. So now I'm going to pull out this extra card with the abundance, and it says, go with the flow. So I'm going to do one more card. I'm not satisfied with that answer. It's not clear enough to me. I never like to say I see something in the cards unless I actually see it, and I don't see much of anything there. So I'm just going to, oops, there we go, take out. I'm going to do a couple more actually. We'll do these guys here. All right, and see what we have. Healing, yep. The source, okay. And then stress, the curveball. Yeah, I mean, I really think what it kind of just confirms to me what I was saying about taking what you can that's valuable from this. There's this idea of like go along with it and follow the currents of what you're being drawn towards. This is a very similar, these three cards are they're like a triangle. They're related, and they definitely speak to kind of going with uncertainty a little bit and letting yourself go with that flow, and with this idea of abundance or spirituality, or this person is concerned, like to go along, but also be aware of the things that it might bring up for you. So because there is healing that needs to happen, and that this will enable that. This is kind of a vehicle for those things to happen. At the same time, to be careful about being too demanding of yourself. And I think that's where this comes from, this idea of having to do things you don't want to do. I think that kind of goes into this, where when we start to think of, I'm just using this as an example, but I think there are other ways it can be applied. But when we start to think of God as an individual, as a person like in the Bible, who makes demands of us, who says, you need to do this or you're going to be punished, or, like a father figure God, we start to feel this stress and we start to feel like we have to perform. And that is not at all what is needed right now. So while you can go in this direction, while it's good to do it, it's also good to be aware of those touchstones, those places where you start to turn the situation into something that involves rules, involves the same kind of performance that was demanded of you in this relationship, where you had to behave a certain way you thought in order to be acceptable and things like that. The other thing is what was I going to say? if this wasn't God, that was just an example. But even with people, this can happen where we turn a relationship and we think and someone reminds us to someone else of someone else, or reminds us of an archetype of someone else, like the father archetype, or this person I knew before who really treated me poorly. And so when you start to put someone in two dimensions like that, when you start to label them, it can create this situation that doesn't need to be here. So I think there is the potential for this situation to become stressful and for it to feel a lot like having to be right and be perfect and be good. However, there is potential also for great healing and personal discovery and connection to occur. And the key is to not let things get to be two-dimensional, to not let yourself just react to what it seems like, and to always look deeper into situations, to go deeper, which is, something you're not necessarily used to doing being up in this mountain, though I do think you are used to doing it in your own self. So now it's about bringing that same experience to your relationships, and seeing the places where you've learned things as well. And that kind of speaks to this world card a little bit, that while this thing that happened was really awful and stressful and unfair, and you really felt like it was your fault, and I think you still might be blaming yourself for it, to know that I don't think it was your fault, but this all served a purpose in a way to bring you to this place where you could learn to love yourself and rely on yourself more. And that it brought you to a place where you could come here, so that it's like Batman, how he goes to the mountains to like restore and everything, right? He does that. The one with, oh, what's his face? It doesn't matter. The more recent Christian, I can't think of his name. It doesn't matter. If you think of it, just put it in the comments if you want to let me know. Christian Bale, goes in the mountains and he trains and all this stuff. And that's kind of where you've been at. But now this bit of you is emerging that wants more, understandably. And I think you're ready for it. And you keep your wise self intact with all of this, you're gonna do great. It's gonna be great. So it's overall, it's a really positive reading. It's a big change. And with all those major arcanas, I knew we were kind of looking at that. It's a big change. It's a good change, and staying grounded is going to be a key part of that, and learning how to ground yourself so that you feel safe in the universe and not just in this sequestered place is also going to play a key role here. And that groundedness, I think, will help you sift through what is keepable and what is not keepable from this situation. All right, so that was your reading. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, I'm back again. I just wanted to quickly address the foot. I forgot about the foot. So to me, the foot symbol is all about grounding. And one of the things that people do that you may know when they're doing like a grounding practice, or they need to ground themselves, is to go walk barefoot on the ground, on a lawn, on the sand, whatever it is. And so that could be a physical aspect to this practice of grounding, and it could speak to the physical aspect of that. So I do think it's a symbol for the grounding that we talked about earlier, and just how important it is. All right, thank you again. And also do not forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any new videos. Thank you so much. Bye. Hi, pile 2. You chose the sweet starfish and pile number 2. So just to remind you, this is a reading about what you need to make room for in your life. And we are going to see what the cards have to say. So to start off, I'm going to just pick a card from here. And let's see what these guys want to share with us today. We have a few that want to come out here. All right. There's like a bump here. I was telling pile 1, and I will tell you as well, it's not a great setup. My table is really ugly, so I'm using this blanket, but down the road, hopefully we'll have a very pretty table to use. When that happens, you will know because you will see it. All right. just wants to come out. Maybe, oh my God, that's too many. Well, maybe it isn't. What I'm going to do is we're going to take the card that clearly revealed itself because I think it wants to be added. I'm going to put these other cards to the side. I'll take out one more of these and then we'll just put this right here in case we want some clarification. Those will be the cards that we use. All right, so let's see what you have for your archetype card is Gnosis, and that means knowledge. And then the lung meridian, life force and spirit. Ooh, the Wheel of Fortune, and you have that here, kind of amazing, change. Ooh, 8 of Swords, guilt, creativity, number 3, and playfulness. And then we have the 7 of Pentacles, the Star, the Wheel of Fortune again, pretty amazing. I love that. Ooh, the 10 of Wands, very interesting. The 5 of Swords. In the earlier reading, I mistook the 7 for the 5 for a second. And the King of Swords. All right, so we have some interesting stuff going on here. With the Wheel of Fortune, there's a big change happening. Let's see. So what do you need to make room for? Well, you need to make room for this change, I think, for sure, with these two showing up like this, and also the wheel in the Gnosis card. So somehow knowledge is playing a big role in all of this, that knowledge to change. That knowledge will change you. So learning is an important thing. Let me see. We have a lot of stuff going on here. There's not as much of a unified message that I'm seeing, which is important to know because I think things can get complicated. And this is a recognition of how complicated things are right now. Gosh, let's see. Where to begin? My goodness. It's very interesting. The way that I'm just looking at how the cards are lined up and, you know, how they relate to each other. In these 2 swords here, you know, someone is being manipulative, someone is not being honest, or someone hasn't been honest with you. And they are like that with a lot of people. It's not just you. It's makes you feel a little crazy. I think it makes it feel like you're on uncertain ground, which is interesting because I feel like there is this message that I don't know. I'm going to hold off on that right now. All right, so in my body, this is where I'm going to start because it's where I'm getting the most information. So in my body, there's a lot of, like I feel a lot of stress and I feel exhaustion. I feel this exhaustion, this question of how much longer can I do this? You know, like you're kind of at the end of your rope right now and you've been working very hard and you are continuing to work very hard. And you're wondering if it's worth it, you know, like there's this question, is this even worth it? You're seeing the results of your work and you're just not sure. At the same time, you're working so hard to stay motivated and to stay energized. And that is also very hard because it kind of just gets lumped into all the other work you have to do. So like, it's that whole thing where like meditation, you know, has become part of the things you should do, yoga you should do. And suddenly when something so lovely as those things become a should, it just gets lumped in with everything else you should do. And it loses any kind of promise and it just becomes another burden. So while you want so badly to, you know, even playfulness here it's like these mandates. You should be, don't be so serious, lighten up, meditate, be creative, blah, 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 blah. And it just comes into this roadblock of like, yeah, I know. And also, how am I going to do this and a million other things? And so there's this real kind of block happening that isn't allowing for these things to occur because there's too much on your plate and there's too much should, and there's a lot of guilt around it. So you feel like you have to get things done. You feel like you are not doing a good enough job, I think, which is why, you continue to work so hard. So you have this guilt that's just getting in the way of so much internally for you. And so there's a lot of suffering in that. And at the same time, I feel like there's this imbalance happening as far as like, it could be work, it could be a relationship, but there's this imbalance happening where someone is, just bossing you around, telling you what to do, and you're kind of like going crazy just trying to get all these things done. So this person is like ruling, your world in a way, ruling your life, dictating what you do. And they're not being fair is the thing. And it's like, but you don't want to speak up, and that's like one of the things about, the reason I love tarot, the reason I read, the reason I call this channel Mystic Shield is because this is it. It's like this idea of pleasing people and how it leaves us so vulnerable and unprotected, because suddenly you become the servant of someone else when you really should be the servant of yourself. Another should for your list. Sorry about that. But I will say that with all of this, there is a lot good and there's a lot of potential. So I don't want to bum you out too much, but I do want to acknowledge the situation that's happening and let you know that this guilt that you're having, I feel like is because you're in an unfair situation, not because you're doing anything wrong. It's not that you don't do a good job. It's not that you're not hardworking. It's not that you don't have good intentions. It's that someone is taking advantage of you, and they're taking advantage of their position in your life to make you kind of do what it is they want you to do. And so what do we make room for in this very, very crowded life? I think that first of all, making room for change is a big deal. And what that can mean in this instance is just to even acknowledge, know that this is not fair. Know that this is not an okay situation. Period. That could be it. That knowledge alone can help to free you up and liberate you from this situation. It can help you to see things differently and not see this person as being in charge of your life. And by your life, I mean it's like they are in all these different aspects of your life. So even if it's at work, you're thinking about work at home. You're thinking about work in the morning. You're dreading it on Sundays, all of those things. Or if it's a relationship, it's like, I can't go out with my friends because he's going to be mad at me or whatever it is. You know what I mean? This person's going to be mad. It doesn't have to be a man. Even it's just the king. So I said he. But so just allowing for the idea that you could change the situation, I think, and knowing that's a possibility will kind of break you through some of this and possibly a lot of it. Because you do have this, you have this capacity for these things. They have become shoulds. And you also have the ability to do them, though. Even with all this going on, it takes liberating yourself from the rule of this person. You are a person who can be very playful. You are a creative spirit. Those things, these two things together, I believe, give you life, give you free your spirit up to play and to just be in the world and be so comfortable. I think you come from a past where it was like you were very comfortable with yourself and you were very much a whole person, and you really were just so, like, you had so much warmth, to give, and so much to give, and give without it depleting you, like you had all of this stuff. You still have these things. This person with their sword has cut you off from them. So again, it's about, not seeing any longer that they deserve that place in your life. Even if they stay in it, that shift is huge, I'm telling you. Then with the star card, we have that same exact idea. And here I get the sense this person knows how good you are, even if they wouldn't admit it to themselves. But they know how important and good you are. And they know that you have all of this to provide, and you provide it for them. They don't want to lose that. So they don't let you they don't let you be yourself because they're so afraid of losing you. Like, it's just weird. There's a real manipulation happening here. If I haven't already mentioned it, I think I did. And what needs to happen is is for you to know that you're this way, to remember it, that these two cards are so related to me. And this card is very much like, giving to yourself and giving to the earth. So giving to, being playful, being creative is something that gives to both you and the people around you. Everyone benefits from that, including you. And it's coming more towards those parts of your life that everyone benefits from. This person is difficult, and they really cut you off from that part of yourself. So it can be very hard. And I just feel like believing that this can change is the beginning of change. And for the starfish coming into this, the thing that I think of is how the starfish regrows its limbs if they get cut off. And we have the sword and this person cutting you off from part of yourself. And the thing that is really cool about the starfish is that this is like a miracle thing, right? Like, people can't just do that. And so it's like something that if you didn't know a starfish could do it, you would never think it could regrow a limb. And I think this also feels like an impossible situation. It feels impossible to be creative again or to be playful again. It feels impossible to get out from under this person. But the starfish tells me it is absolutely possible, and that a huge part of all of this is knowing you can do it, just like we know the starfish can do it. So know that you are capable of this change, absolutely. And know that, yes, it does seem impossible. The tarot agrees with that. You know what I mean? The tarot agrees that this is not easy, and that's okay. It's also possible. And the belief and the major change is knowing that it's possible. And I say no because it's not, I said belief earlier in it, and belief isn't good enough because it is possible, period. There's no need, like, yes, there is belief that needs to happen and all this other stuff, but beyond that is knowing, gnosis. Know it is possible to change. Know it is possible this situation can change. Know that the universe with the Wheel of Fortune is 100% behind you in making that change, and that your suffering is not in vain, that it is seen and that it will change. And that you have so much capability, even if you just like pick up a sketchbook and start painting or whatever it is that you like to do that's creative, just little things to start freeing yourself. And it all starts with that knowledge that you can. And I love how these are like almost like bookends for these wheels. Like, it's like you can move forward, you can move. So just know that you can move. I'm really excited for you that you can do this, and I really hope that you start to know that you can, and you remember all of the things that make you wonderful, and you know those have not gone away, and you just need to build up those muscles again, and eventually the scales will tip, and this will change. It really will. So that is your reading for today. So make room for change. Make room for yourself, man. And if you like this, please hit the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss future readings. I'm really excited to be here. Oh my goodness. And let's just see like what a couple of these other cards are. I feel like you may not need them, but oh, wow. But they're fun cards. I'm going to do two. So this is the universe. This is when I said the universe is behind you with the Wheel of Fortune. It really is. There's some kind of, I feel like, coming up, you make room for you to be victorious and you to be successful in this. And that you have like this very strong support. And the 5 is like it's a big change card to me. I know a lot of people read the Hierophant in different ways. And for me, one of the things is like this really strong, kind of shift in the way you live that can come to you. And with the Ace of Pentacles, there's this gift that's coming your way to help you with all of this. And it's funny. I think it's more valuable than any of these here all of them put together. So it's like when I started making money with my own business versus getting paid, $1 was worth more than, $100 from the job when I was working for someone else. So it could be, that coming to mind for some of you, you might be leaving your current job or considering it and starting your own thing, which would totally be reflected here. But no matter what, this is absolutely supported, and you build on these successes. You're about to have one, and you keep building up and trusting that you have support. And this shift is gonna be lovely, and it's gonna happen. All right, so now this is your reading. Thank you so much for being here. Again, like, subscribe, and good luck with all of this. I'm really excited for you that this is all coming. It's like coming back to ourselves. You're coming back to yourself, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right, have a good day. I don't know. Thank you for watching, and I will see you, I hope, again. Bye. Hello, pile 3. You chose the beautiful key, and obviously you chose pile 3. So let's get your cards going here and see what your reading is about. Again, this is something to make room for in your life. And we're going to start with these beautiful cards. This is a pretty new deck to the world. I got it in September, right after it came out. Oh, and it's so, look at this. It's so pretty. I didn't mean to turn the card over, but I did. I was just so excited to show you. So you have the second chakra here. But let's get the other cards out before we flip them over. All right. But that's a very beautiful card. All right, let's see what we have here. Hello, thank you. Thank you. And you, and you. And I'm going to put this one to the side. And then let's see what we have here. And I've been telling everyone, my setup isn't great. I am going to get a table one of these days, and it's going to be beautiful. But until then, kind of working with what I got. So this is what I've got. But more importantly, I've got my tarot cards, and that's really all that matters. All right, and I'm going to, ooh, this one just popped right out. All right, and I'm going to put these ones aside as well in case we need some more insight. I'll use those cards. All right, great. I like to have it be a little bit more organized, but whatever. Okay, so the second chakra really wanted to make itself known. We're talking emotions, we're talking creativity, the release. So let's see what's going on. With the key, I'm seeing a theme already, but let's see if that's the case. All right, we have for your archetype card, the unseen. And look, I just want to show, it's so pretty. It's all these little dots. It's crazy. It's a gorgeous card. And then we have 19 with innocence. This is a major arcana card. Ooh, we have 2 with inner voice. Look at that, the unseen and the inner voice, the moon theme here, gorgeous. The outsider, the 5 of pentacles or rainbows. And then the queen of fire or wands with sharing. Okay, and then we have the page of cups. The 7 of cups, the strength card, number 8, the 6 of cups, boop, and temperance, which is number 14, and the tower at 16. And just so you know, I'm not reading with reversals, which is when the card's upside down. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm just not going to do it today. I just go with my gut. And if you're an aspiring tarot reader, you can go with your gut too. There are no hard and fast rules with tarot, and I really believe that it's going to know what you're going to do ahead of time. I mean, that's what the tarot does, and so it doesn't expect you like to read with a reversal unless you're going to. All right, so let's see what's going on here. So we started talking about releasing and emotions and things like that. With the unseen, I'm seeing some intuitive vibes here in the moon as well, in the inner voice. That's a lot to do with intuition. Let's see. The Tower card came up in the first reading as well. I just want to look closer at this. Okay. This is so funny. Do you see what I see? The lock and key. So right here, and also in this card, if I didn't stop and see it, I would have put 2 and 2 together that you can open the door anyway, but the lock isn't even really locked. And so the 5 of Pentacles is usually, you know, in the Rider-Waite deck, it's the snowy day, you know, the snowy environment right in front of a church, and the 2 people are like really broken and walking past. And in this card, it's a little less dreary looking. The message, though, to me is very similar, which is that this idea of having the option to be connected to other people but not even realizing it, which kind of goes with this inner voice. And also we have this child here, which is interesting with the Innocence card. Let's see what else is going on here. I'm just kind of collecting information right now. I love these 2 yellow cards right on top of each other. The cups and the cups here. So there's a lot of, so with the emotions, and then we have these cups here, it's interesting to me. So there's a lot to do with emotion and creativity and things like that, and the unconscious. And what I'm picking up on is you are struggling with not knowing what to do, maybe with your life or with a particular situation. Give me a second. You want more. I feel like you want more from your life, and you've done this great job of becoming, you know, a grown person and being very generous and well-intentioned and all of these things, but you're not feeling satisfied. And I believe it's because you feel this disconnection from people or from a particular thing in your life. You don't feel like you're part of the you just don't see the world the way other people do, I think, which is really kind of interesting, the unseen. But I just get this feeling like you bring this innocence to things. You have kind of this very childlike way of viewing things, and that is not the negative that I think you might feel it is. If you look at this, and I think that's what these cards are trying to tell us, that you feel left out and you feel like you're not really part of things because you just maybe don't understand people, or you don't understand certain like you don't have the same goals as other people. You're not as invested in money or success, or your idea of success is different from what it is for other people, which is kind of what this card is telling me. Whereas they have this all, they seem to have it all figured out. They're like, well, no, this is what success is. It's this one cup. But to you, it's like, gosh, I'm not sure. Like, it's hard to define because you don't agree with other people's idea of what it is, but you also still don't know what it is for you. And in here, it's like, it's almost like you've been given this idea of this is success, and it's very, like from a young age, this has a lot to do with the past and everything. So I think from a young age, like you've had this idea of what success is, which is handed down, maybe in your family or maybe just societally. But there is this clear idea. And this, I think, someone, I think, in the past has given you a taste of what you think is success, like a little bit more identify as success. But for some reason that isn't accessible to you right now. So you're just feeling like very kind of lost and left out. And like, where are my people? You know what I mean? That feeling of like, where are my people? And it's hard because you have this great generosity. You have a richness of spirit. You can be very funny, very affable, very sharing and giving. But it seems like people don't want that, which is difficult, and it may or may not be that people want it, or, I don't know, but there's just a disconnect there somehow. And I think that opening up and making way for the idea that you can access this connection with people, with this key here, I think is the thing to open up to. And it's opening up to your intuition is a huge part of this. And that your innocence, the thing that makes you unlike other people, is also, it's a key to all of this. That you need to, you obviously are interested in tarot because you're watching this and you may already read tarot or things like that. But going deeper into this spiritual aspect of things, I believe, is going to give you that sense of belonging that you've been looking for so much. And that this, this beautiful gift you have, it may not be, you feed yourself with it. Like you give it to yourself. So you give yourself the loving and the caring that you have to offer. And on a deeper level, it creates this momentum in this unseen realm of connection. It's a weird thing to say because I'm not exactly sure even I understand it completely, but I feel it very strongly. Let me see what else is going on here. So there's this uncertainty, and it feels like, you know what you want, but you don't. There's this real pull towards something, but it's very unclear. And so it can be very challenging in a world where people are very material based, and you are drawn to and pulled towards the non-material in the more innocent way of seeing things. And I want to define innocence a little bit better for you. And I think this card really is a great representation. And here it's like the opposite. We have this little kid versus this old man, and the child feels left out and doesn't belong. And it has to take responsibility for, or have the knowledge that it can just open the lock. Like, it's not locked, but no one's there to tell him that or her that. So it's up to them to figure it out, which is not easy for a kid to do, So there's this innocence of like not knowing when an opportunity is there, or not being someone who like goes for an opportunity because they don't realize it. There's a lot of like, I didn't know happening in this card, versus this much older man, like the opposite age. It's not even like a, like a middle-aged person. This is a much older man who is probably, some kind of Zen master or something like that, who is just delighted by this praying mantis here. And that's the kind of innocence I'm talking about. While you can feel like, what am I missing and what didn't I get? At the same time, that part of you that misses things has the ability to take delight in stuff that other people just don't even notice. They would walk right past it in the street. And that's a huge gift. And that is something that I really feel like is a key in developing intuition and working in, the realms of spirit and spiritual things. And so this unseen again, and this kid is not seen. And I think that's like you feel overlooked also. But you see the things that are unseen, and you will find, I think, people who are like this, and you'll find your people. And it takes knowing that you're not separate and that that's an illusion, and that you can just go right through that gate. And that's very vague. So we'll keep talking and we'll get it. We'll get there. But know that I know that's vague, and we're going to kind of get there. Also, how cool is it that these colors match so well, these colors here? And it's quite beautiful. So a lot of this is, swimming and intuition. We have the dolphins, and there's so much friendliness here. And it's hard to be a very friendly person and feel like it's not appreciated. I know that feeling, and it can be very hard. But it does seem like you've managed it pretty well. You have the strength card here, and I do feel that's representative of you. These two things, a lot of flexibility, a lot of room for people, like a lot of compassion, a lot of forgiveness. You see the unseen things, so you see the parts of people, the strengths that they may not see or even act upon. With this Tower card, I am very curious, and that is the first area I'm going to ask for clarification on. Yeah, okay. So the Tower card is kind of this. Yeah. And this might have already happened, I feel like, or it's a process you're going through of dismantling the belief system, this whole idea, like I was saying, of everybody else seems to have this idea of success, but it doesn't do anything for you, like having money or, being beautiful and all those things, these places where people derive so much or seem to derive so much pleasure from these values that they have. They're just not your values. And so it takes dismantling that. And I think you're in the process of that. And there could be some bumps, or there were some bumps along the road to doing this. It felt maybe a little jarring at times, but it was also really important work, because this is what opens you up to possibilities, to some other option for what success might be, even if you don't know quite what that is. With this moon, it's like very much like I feel drawn towards something, but I don't know what it is, but it's emotional and it's intuitive. In this beautiful possibilities card, I'll just bring it up here really quickly, is very like this eagle is just soaring and has such a high view of things and is looking out for possibilities. And then if you just look at the mirroring in these two cards, it's quite amazing. And in this card, the sun is either rising or setting, and it's giving off a little light, but this is so bright. And I think that's speaking to, there are all these possibilities, all these things that you're not sure of, which is this card. However, there is one place, one area to focus on. And the area that you're being pulled in, and I believe you already know this, is this area of the second chakra, the sacral chakra, which is about intuition and being creative and being emotional. So these unseen things, and that's part of the reason why the success that the world defines for you, the values that it defines for all of us, they aren't enough for you. And you're not going to feel connected because you have this knowledge and this capacity to go so much deeper than that. You will only be satisfied by appreciating and being a part of this energetic world, the world of energies, and being creative and expressing yourself and your emotions creatively, living creatively, being open to possibilities, and also being drawn into this other area. This is where you belong. You don't belong over here with the material things. Even though they're lovely, you just don't. It's not your realm. This is your realm. And so that's why you haven't felt like you fit in all this time. Um, and you're so close to getting there if you haven't yet. You know what I mean? Like this kid here. I wanted to pull out a couple more cards and just get some clarification on the key and the lock for you. So what does it take to do this? Aha. Okay, great. So the first thing that I see with this 10 of Cups is this idea of letting go of the idea that but I'm going to say it again, the idea of needing to change in your relationships, needing to do something differently, that they should feel different, that they should feel more connected, you should feel more loved, all of that stuff. Know that you are loved and that this is how it feels. And it may not be satisfying to you because you have this whole other life calling to you that I don't know that you've been really living yet. You know, I don't know if you've been there yet or not. And it might not have been since you were a kid playing by yourself that you felt this, you know. But you really do have the support and love you need. You just don't feel it because you want so much more, because you know there's so much more out there for you. The other aspect of this is that you're in some kind of situation where people are not paying attention to each other. They're so busy thinking about their own goals, their own desires, their own, passions that they have. This reminds me of social media and Instagram where everyone is just sharing, and who stops to like the images and who stops to comment? Someone like you, right? But you're in this whole crowd of people who are just like fighting to be seen and heard and all this other stuff. And it's all in this realm of approval and materialism and things like that. And keenly right now you're in this. So I feel like there's some situation like a job or the people that your current crowd that you run with, or your family or whatever. It's a group of people and they're just not able to see each other. And again, this could even have to do with this, and this is the best they can do, and this is what it's like, but it feels like this to you when it's like this for everybody else. You know what I mean? Like you feel like you're not heard. You feel like you have to yell to be heard, and even then you're just treated like you're being a kid, right? Versus like they're like, this is happiness, and so that's like a very hard perspective, but I think for a person who has great spiritual depths and a need for connectivity, very common. I really do believe that. Looking at these cards, it makes so much sense. I never would have come up with that on my own, but the tarot is bringing me there, and I'm like, heck yes, I totally get it. And part of that is, and I love this, if you look at this, right, we have the 7 of Cups here, the Page of Cups. If you add these together, you have 8 cups, the 8 of Cups. And this is a card of someone walking away. So it's leaving this, and it may just be on an emotional level. A lot of times this card, it's not like the death card. It's not like a big transition card, but it is like an emotional leaving behind, an emotional going. And so for me, it's like find this part, this cup, take it and go, go to where you need to be. And so it could be an emotional leaving. It could be stopping trying to compete with everybody else, stopping trying to find love and nurturing from other people, and just go into the worlds of the spirit where you belong. Follow the pull of the moon to where you need to go. And again, you can still be in these relationships. However, you start looking for satisfaction elsewhere. and that can take a tremendous amount of strength to do. I also think you're capable of it, and it's hard because you have so many people telling you, so many examples, and people who love you, and it's like, it's just not enough. And that's okay. I think you're really called to something else, called to something, much deeper and much more, valuable, honestly, in the world. These things that can't be seen are so valuable. Like love can't be seen, and there's just so much. So I think this is a really beautiful, beautiful reading. As much as it is hard, I think that it's a real answer to a question that might have been bothering you for a while. And so the thing to make room for is this spiritual side of yourself. Make room for the idea that there is a place where you can connect. It's not the same place that everybody else connects. So, all right, that was really beautiful. I feel very serene after reading this. I feel so happy for you. I know there's a lot of sadness and everything else that's kind of come with this, but there's also this deep, deep soulfulness. You have capacity to not just help other people. It's not about helping other people, but being an example, I think, of the joy, that life can bring, which is an amazing, amazing thing to be able to do. So this is your reading. I hope you liked it. Please do consider liking it if you did like it. Like, just click that button, and then also subscribing so you don't miss another reading of mine. Again, this is Mystic Shield Tarot, and thank you so, so much for watching. Good luck with all of this. I'm just so curious to know more about your situation. If you want to share in the comments, I would love to hear about it. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.